Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, here with another unscripted thing, but this time not about a movie I just saw. This time it's about the premiere of a TV series, DuckTales 2017. Yeah, I felt like I had to watch this. I grew up watching the original DuckTales, so obviously I had to see how this reboot did, right? And I have to say, I was intrigued about this from the moment I first heard about it. It's, taken me a while to get to the place where I actually thought it was going to be good. Because, you first hear about any sort of remake or reboot of something that was so clearly good originally, and you think, why would they bother remaking it? And of course, there have been other remakes and reboots of certain cartoon series recently that haven't done so well, like Teen Titans Go and the Powerpuff Girls. I mean, they've done well, but they haven't exactly been received well. But then with DuckTales, the more and more I saw as it was revealed over time, the more and more I got intrigued. Because, the original DuckTales was good. I don't necessarily think it left much of an impact on me, if I'm being perfectly honest. Darkwing Duck left an impact, but DuckTales, I know I watched it, but I don't really remember it as well. But, I mean, like I said, it was a good show, but all the same, didn't really leave that much of an impact. So, you hear about the reboot, you think, why would they bother? And then the more you see over time, the more clips they reveal, the more art, you start to get more intrigued, basically. And you start to think, okay, maybe it could work. And then they revealed the opening theme on the Disney YouTube channel. And that was the moment where it finally was like, okay, you've sold me. I'm going to be there on the premiere date. I'm going to watch this. And I've got to see what it's like, because that opening is amazing. If you haven't seen it, you really, really should. That is how you do an opening, not just for a cartoon, but for any sort of show. So, it has finally premiered. In fact, it was literally a 24-hour run of the hour-long pilot, starting at midnight and running to midnight, basically. So, no possible way I could have missed it. And I got a chance to watch it a couple of times so I could make sure I actually caught everything. Not that it's layered like Lost or something, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So, have the time to watch it a couple times. This is how you do a reboot. This was a good one. A really, really good one. And I won't give any spoilers away. And yes, that is significant. There are spoilers that people will be discussing. I won't give them away here yet, just in case. But man, they've really got me intrigued. So, full reboot. In case you haven't heard, this is not a follow-up to the original DuckTales cartoon. This is a full-blown reboot. We're starting off at the beginning of this journey. So, you've got Donald Duck taking care of Huey, Dewey, and Louie, as he always does. And he apparently has to go to a job interview because he's unemployed, apparently, at the moment. And since he can't get a babysitter, he has to swallow his pride in a certain way and drop the nephews off with Scrooge McDuck. And they have been estranged for 10 years. And there's a reason for it. Like I said, there's a reason I specified no spoilers, because there is a reason why they have not spoken to each other and why they're on bad terms. So this is the nephew's introduction to Scrooge McDuck, and also their introduction to Webby. And that, of course, once they find out that all the legends about Scrooge McDuck as this great adventurer actually are true, that gets Scrooge back into adventuring and taking them along. And they really do a good job of it. Every single scene in the McDuck Manor for the first half of the episode, there's always something hinting at past exploits. there are portraits and photographs of Scrooge McDuck on adventures, and there's a whole area where there are artifacts and various treasures that, that aren't like the gold he would keep in his giant money bin, but are like relics more. And it's very interesting to see all the detail. There's also a couple of hints as to what happened that caused Scrooge and Donald to have a falling out. Again, no spoilers, but they are there if you look for them. They're not blatant, but you definitely see the hints here and there. And, well, as an adventure story, this first episode is great. It has good comedy. It's got, I wouldn't really call it suspenseful, but it has a good level of excitement, certainly. Because there is that sense that there is peril, because there are death traps and everything. There's a unique spin on Atlantis. There's actually, they go to Atlantis in it. If you've seen one of the teaser clips that's on the Disney YouTube channel, that's not really much of a spoiler. You already know they're going there. There's a unique spin on why Atlantis sunk that's actually pretty funny. I won't give it away, but I thought it was pretty funny that this is the reason Atlantis sunk. This is the reason Atlantis sunk in the DuckTales reboot. And yeah, there are also some interesting little twists here and there involving Donald, because Donald Duck is actually more involved in this one. In the original DuckTales series, they got rid of him in the first episode for some reason. Here he's sticking around. One thing about Donald, he's a little hard to understand at times. And yes, I realize it's Donald Duck we're talking about, but I mean, like, really, there are times when I wasn't entirely sure what he said, and I'm glad I watched it a couple of times, so I did understand after a while. I don't know if my ears were just getting used to it, or if the actor was just enunciating more as the script went forward, but that is kind of an issue. Hopefully it doesn't last throughout the whole show. But again, it's Donald Duck. He's always sounded like that, so that just comes with the territory. Since I brought it up, the thing I'm sure everyone's really wondering about are the characters. How did they fare? Well, we haven't met everyone yet, but, well, Donald, as incomprehensible as he sometimes is, classic Donald, he still has his short temper. You know him, you know the character. There is an interesting new twist on him with his nephews, though. He's more overprotective. And again, there's a reason for it. I don't want to get into the spoilers. Like, okay, I keep saying I don't want to get into spoilers. They don't give too much away. There's clearly a lot they're saving for later in the series, and I don't think it's going to be like a big Gravity Falls style mystery, but you can definitely infer a lot from what little we do get in this first episode. So you can infer why he's overprotective. And that's an interesting new angle. I mean, I don't know what it's been like recently, but when I last saw all the stuff with Donald, he wasn't really that much of a coddling type when it came to Huey, Dewey, and Louie. He was like, they were bulls clashing horns in classic Disney. So having that aspect to him adds another dimension, makes Donald a bit more interesting. Scrooge, of course, like, he's supposed to be the living legend, and indeed, that's a very accurate way to describe him. Like, when we first meet him in the first half of the episode, he seems bored. He seems kind of, I don't want to say full-blown melancholy, but he's definitely keeping everyone at arm's length. And once that spark of adventure comes back, then we see him really come alive, and we see that even though he's still an old codger, he's got plenty of juice left in him. And it's quite thrilling, in fact, to see him do stuff like riding a Chinese dragon through the city, for example, or dodging death traps in Atlantis. So this is a cool Scrooge McDuck. No disrespect to the one from the original DuckTales, but I like this guy. Huey, Dewey, and Louie and Webby are perhaps the most changed from the original. Because Huey, Dewey, and Louie, pretty much from the start, they basically, even though they're three separate characters, technically they've always acted as one. And it's often been hard to tell any sort of distinction between them. Like, they were basically the same personality. I'll be honest, there were times I'd honestly forget which of them were in earlier incarnations. Was the red one Louie or what? I didn't know. They were just the same entity. Here, they've not only got different voice actors, they've got their own distinct personalities, which is a huge improvement. I mean, it only took, 90, almost 100 years? But that's definitely a step up. And they also, let's see, they have personal stakes in the mystery of why Scrooge and Donald had a falling out. And again, nothing more than that. It's all inference, I know, but nothing more than that yet. So Webby is even more improved than the nephews, though. Like, in the original DuckTales, she was the girl of the younger characters. Like, for as much as Huey, Dewey, and Louie only had one personality, at least they had one personality between them. Webby didn't really have much of a personality at all, and she was mostly just there to be girly and didn't really have much else to her. A lot of people, I think, found her annoying. Here she's, well, I guess you could say she's kind of nerdy in a way, because she studies the McDuck family. Like, that's her entire life, because her grandmother, Mrs. Beakley, lives in I don't know if she lives in McDuck Manor, but she works there. So obviously Webby spends a lot of time there too, and yeah, she must live there because, we don't know yet, but she spends all this time exploring McDuck Manor and studying the history of the family. She's got like this conspiracy theorist cork board with a red thread tying all these different things. I don't know how many hints might have been hidden in there that might have been missed, but she's also apparently been trained for adventuring, but hasn't actually gone on an adventure when the series starts. So she's certainly got that adventurous spirit, and yet at the same time she has this tendency to fangirl out whenever Scrooge McDuck is being Scrooge McDuck for all intents and purposes. And again, I'm only going on the first episode, but they are a huge improvement. So yeah, this is how you do a reboot, as I said. Other details I can think of, animation was good. It's got more of a comic book look to it, because that's clearly what they were going for. They were going for the older Disney comics that focused on Scrooge and Donald and the nephews, which is why Scrooge is wearing red and Donald is wearing black. And it works. It really does work. A lot of people, like, when you first see it, you think, well, that looks kind of weird. It's not what I'm used to. Not because we're used to Disney having the rounded edges and having the very fluid movement. Even when it's like lower budget, you still expect that sort of thing. But this is more flat. It has the sharper angles to it at times, but it works. It really works for what they're going for. Music cues were really good. I rarely comment on music in these sort of things. I'm trying to get better at that, but I mean, it's not like a John Williams soundtrack where it's going to leap out at you, but it serves each scene well. One character I forgot to mention, Launchpad. Launchpad McQuack is Launchpad McQuack. He hasn't really changed that much at all. He's perhaps just a little bit more thick-skulled than he originally was, but otherwise still recognizably Launchpad. No one's going to have any complaints there. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. I look forward to seeing it continue, and apparently that's going to be a little bit longer. I think they said sometime in September. Well, we're going to have to wait now that they've done the pilot, but I'm really looking forward to it because, like I said, this is going to have a mystery element that I'm looking forward to seeing. Not necessarily because I don't know at all what's going to happen, but because I'm interested to see how it plays out. Like I keep saying, there are enough hints throughout that you can kind of infer the basics of what happened before the series began. But you don't necessarily know what happened specifically, and you don't know how it's going to affect Huey, Dewey, and Louie, especially when they find out. The very last thing you see in the episode, it's just, is it Dewey? I think it is. He just says one word when he discovers something in the, amongst all the relics and whatnot. He says one word, and that's one of those moments where you just know you have to keep watching. So, yeah, there you have it. My thoughts on the DuckTales reboot. Good job, Disney. I'm looking forward to seeing more. Keep it up. And if you really are bringing in Darkwing Duck to this series, as the rumors say you are, make it work. Because Darkwing is the one I really was into as a kid, so make that work. But anyway, just wanted to keep you guys abreast of what I was doing this weekend. I did more than that, I swear. I'm not that pathetic. I'm going to end this now. So, anyway, did you guys manage to catch it? Do you even care? Well, whichever. Leave your comments below, as always. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer, signing off.